talking about the Texas abortion law. Now, for the past week, we've been telling you and bringing you stories from both sides of this issue, but we haven't really talking too much about the economic impact that could hit Texas. So that's why we bring in economist Michael Szanto with the very latest. Michael, this is something, that I don't think a lot of people at first were thinking about.
Yeah, but it's definitely a potentially big issue. You can look at the North Carolina bathroom law from a few years ago, and that caused a lot of businesses to leave from North Carolina and appears to have cost the state potentially billions of dollars. So there is a potential if a state passes a controversial law that many disagree with, that might be a little bit on the extreme side.
And Michael, can you explain for our viewers how that would start up? Does it take like a major company to do something and then others would follow as well?
Well, with the bathroom law in North Carolina, what you saw was that PayPal canceled plans to build a major office in North Carolina that would have provided many jobs and offered a lot of money into the North Carolina budget. And also the NCAA for college athletics avoided having key competitions in North Carolina. And then with the controversial election laws in Georgia, you had a number of sports contests that actually avoided Georgia. And then other companies like Coca-Cola spoke out against Georgia, leading to the possibility of decreased investment in the state of Georgia. So there can certainly be an economic impact.
Yeah, we definitely saw that, like you just said, with the All-Star game from Georgia going to Colorado and so much more. Now, in Texas, if those businesses do start to make an impact, what do Congress members do there in Texas?
Well, I mean, it is definitely a strong influence on the state legislature. So the North Carolina state legislature clearly reacted by revising the law to make it less controversial in the United States. So certainly the state legislature and governor and other officials of Texas definitely have an opportunity to revisit and see if they really, really want laws like this. But let me say, there is a flip side. A prominent CEO of a major US corporation taking such a strong stand on such a controversial issue that there are many people who feel strongly in both ways. Though the Texas law is quite unusual. There are all kinds of aspects that can be criticized. But still, on the issue of abortion, it's a lightning rod issue. And there are people who feel very, very strongly on both sides. And the executives of corporations have, first and foremost, in theory, a fiduciary responsibility to the shareholders. So potentially getting associated with one side or another on a deeply divisive issue, I think is risky for management to do.
Yeah, very, very good thoughts right there, Michael, just on the whole fact of, why would a business want to look like they are for one side or the other? And then that could impact their bottom line in many, many ways. Now, with this cancel culture that we are seeing here just play out across the country with so many various different entities, is that something that a business looks at this moment really carefully before they try to make a major move of pulling out of a state?
Well, hopefully, and nobody is necessarily pulling out of Texas right now, but that's something that I think that companies need to responsibly look at. There's a slippery slope here. Maybe you're certain that you should take a stand on one particular issue, but then suddenly there are other people who are going to feel that somehow another issue has the equal gravity and is as black and white. And we're in a very divided country because oftentimes people are not talking to each other. They refuse to accept any innocent motivations. They refuse to accept that the other side has any good intentions or could legitimately disagree. So I think this is a slippery slope. You talk about cancel culture, where the public becomes judge, jury, and executioner, and that's related to this as well. So there is actually a history of American corporations staying out of political issues. I think in some extreme cases, if something threatens our democracy itself, but in the case of the response of some corporations to make sure that their employees are able to get the health care that they believe that they want, that is freely available in many states, I think that that's responsible. But we don't necessarily need the corporate executives making a very public political statement about it. But the nice thing about new technology that we're able to use Zoom, as I'm using right now for this interview, is that there is a great deal of flexibility. And I think that by all means, corporations should give their employees the flexibility to get the healthcare where they want. And if one state doesn't have it, then another. I mean, I think that's reasonable, but I think it's risky, again, because if you get involved on one divisive, controversial issue, what's next? I mean, so many people feel so strongly about the various issues. So I'm not commenting only about abortion. Maybe this seems to virtually everyone as black and white and very simple. Probably not exactly, but there's going to be another issue where some people feel extremely strongly about it, and they may actually be misinformed. That's the danger with cancel culture, by the way. Suddenly somebody says something and it's misinterpreted, and it might be an important point. And I think we just have to be very careful.
Yeah, all good points there. Yeah, especially with social media, something like could spark up a wildfire of controversy really quickly before all of the thoughts and angles are all thought out there. So, Michael Szanto, thanks so much for breaking it all down for us this evening, as we'll continue to hear stories coming out of Texas and all sides as we continue to cover this important topic. Michael, thanks so much and have a great evening.